This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
The captivating wave of biohacking, propelled by prominent figures such as Tom Brady, Jeff Bezos, and Brooke Burke, have captured national attention due to its rejuvenating promises. Biohacking involves the strategic manipulation of cellular function, a key driver of aging, through meticulous lifestyle adjustments and advanced technologies. Although these findings are awaiting further human replication, this journey has unveiled the disparity between biological age, shaped by cellular characteristics, and chronological age, the years since birth. By focusing on optimizing cellular function, biohacking aspires to recalibrate our biology for targeted results, potentially reshaping the aging trajectory. Valeria interviews William Moore. He is the founder of AdvancedYOU, a Dallas-based clinic specializing in men's sexual wellness, aesthetics, longevity, and biohacking. He also created Fallow, the top network of clinics for non-surgical penile girth enhancement. With 20-plus years of experience and an MS degree in clinical exercise physiology, William is dedicated to helping men achieve their health and appearance goals. Meet William at advanced-you.com. That's advanced-you.com. Here's the interview with William Moore.
In your own words, who is William Moore?
Wow, that's such a large, encompassing question. I was just thinking to myself just before we started this conversation, who is William Moore? I see myself, I think, as a servant to the public. And for my entire career, I've sort of been focused on helping people be their better selves. My career first started in the field of exercise science, where I taught exercise classes to seniors, which was sort of cutting edge whenever I was in my undergraduate and my graduate program for exercise science and exercise physiology. And I just fell in love with helping populations that were just a little bit outside the norm. There weren't very many people that were offering exercise classes specifically geared towards people over the age of 50 to 60. And so I did that, and I was also a personal trainer, and eventually I got into doing cardiac rehab, also serving. But I eventually found that my calling for the next 20 years was in helping people look better and feel better about themselves. And so I spent 20 years in the med spa industry, and I opened one of the very first med spas in Dallas. That med spa was open before we even had FDA clearance for the first dermal filler, which was Restylane. But I was around before we had any injectables, so we were only using chemical pills and microdermabrasion, and we had a few lasers for hair removal and some lasers for some sunspots. And I took that plane. I did as much as I think you could possibly do in that field. I was the president of the Texas Med Spa Association. I was president of one of the National Laser Societies. And I taught at lots of conferences, and I taught laser physics classes, and I taught all kinds of classes in that, and helped other providers be better providers for their patients. But at the same time, there was always something that was missing that I was always drawn to this anti-aging, and at the conferences, I was always at the booths where they were talking about reversing aging, and I was always looking into the new technologies of what modalities that we had to reverse aging. Although my bread and butter always came from making people look better, I always had this urge to make them feel better, physically feel better. And so at the 20-year mark of my med spa, I sold it and decided that I was going to go in a different career path. And I opened up a clinic called AdvancedYOU, which is where I'm presently at now. And it's a biohacking clinic that's geared towards helping people be more fit, more healthy in less time, and more effectively, more efficiently. I've always, I guess, I see myself as the person who was put on this earth to help others be a better version of themselves. Spiritually, that's the way that I feel, and that's what I focus on. I'm not sure if you know this about me or not, but I took a case to the U.S. Supreme Court that was it was a landmark case for the LGBT community. It made it illegal to fire an LGBT employee for being gay, and so I've just always tried to focus on making life better and for the community.
Yes. Wow. I love that. I mean, what's not to love about everything that you speak of? And it sounds very spiritual to me, although that's a different topic, a different conversation, what spirituality is. And to me, it's exactly that. It's answering the call, right? It's doing what we are here to do in a sense of seeing whatever we see that's unjust or, let's say, unloving, unkind, trying to do something about it to change that, of course, in a kind way. I just talked yesterday about an activist. We were talking about activism, and then in the peace activists, a lot of times they actually don't look too peaceful, trying to make the world a peaceful place, but they are not as peaceful. So it is working on ourselves. I agree. I guess with all that you have said, I have questions here for you already, different questions. I would love to hear more about your understanding of aging. Like, what does it mean to you to age?
Well, our bodies age because of basically our cellular function, our amount of mitochondrial activity that produces ATP, and the amount of inflammation that we have in our bodies. And when we look at our body as a whole and we're trying to reverse aging, we want to increase mitochondrial activity, which is producing ATP, which gives our bodies energy. Every system in our body relies on ATP as its energy source. And the majority of our diseases come from the roots of inflammation, and also the reduction of ATP or energy. So those two things can keep your body in check and keep many diseases away. So another big idea in aging now is the telomere lengthening. So we're always looking at new ways to try and reverse aging, but primarily, I think that looking at the inflammation in the body, trying to reduce that, and trying to keep the cells functioning and producing as much energy as they possibly can, and also maintaining a healthy diet and keeping chemicals out of the system. And I mean, there's so many things that we can go into for that biohackers look at. Even EMFs. I'm a big believer that there are things happening to our bodies from EMF, from cell phones, and from Wi-Fi, and things like that. People think that it's not happening because the FDA has said that these EMFs don't cause cancer. Well, they may not cause cancer, but what if they change the way that our cells function, because we are electrical beings? So there's so many things in aging. You and I could probably have conversations for days on this very topic. There's so many directions that we could actually go here.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's very clear what you said about energy and inflammation. It's not that I was trying to look for that answer, but my concern with the obsession with looking in a certain way or the best that we can and trying to be young forever, as we know, it's almost as a mantra that some people have. It taps into the non-acceptance of not accepting who we are and the way we are. So I think that causes a lot more problems than actually letting the body do its work. So it has been my experience trying for so long to look really in a certain way, but I was so unhappy by trying too hard. I think I was trying to fit in. I was trying to look in a certain way so I would be accepted by others.
I love that you say that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, yes, yeah, please.
Well,
yeah, that's.
I feel the same way that you do. And for years, as I owned the anti-aging clinics, which focused on how people look, just as what you just said that you tried for years to try and look better because that's what you felt needed to do to be accepted.
Right.
I never focused on myself at all. But people would say, "Have you had this done?" And I would say, "No, I haven't." Well, why not?
Right.
Well, because the outer appearance of my body, is not what's going to make me stay standing upright and keep me out of a wheelchair and keep me out of the hospital and all the other things. I was always focusing my time and energy and money on things that I think was keeping the inside of my body healthier, that would allow me to have better life in my years. That's what I always want to have, is I want to have the best life in my years that I can. If I make my years longer because of some of these anti-aging modalities, that's fantastic. But if I'm going to be on this earth for a certain number of years, I want to make sure that I'm not in the bed, that I'm not bedridden, or that I'm not the person, no offense to the people that this has happened to, because I know sometimes it's out of their control, but I don't want to be the person that's in the scooter if I don't have to be. I know that there's accidents and things that happen, but if I can keep myself away from that because of the lifestyle that I live, that is anti-aging to me, rather than how much Botox I have in my forehead and how much dermal filler I have in my wrinkles and so forth.
Yes. Beautifully said. Yeah. I love that, William. Yes, that resonates true to me. Of course, we are speaking of lessening suffering. Kind of, this is knowledge, right? Tapping into wisdom. Yes. And the body is fantastic. It's just incredibly efficient when it comes to self-healing too. We give the conditions and it just does what it does. It's amazing. But of course, we do need help. And I take supplements and all that, exercise for a reason. Another question I have for you, those initial questions, about a reference for feeling better or feeling good. What would that be? How do you measure? I know it's different for everyone, but do you actually have a universal reference that we can look at it?
Here's some things that I would think about. Does it hurt to get out of the bed in the morning? Are there things that we can do to make that better for you? Do you get good sleep? If you get good sleep, you tend to think better. So is your brain foggy? So how about the ability to go up a flight of stairs without being out of breath? I've always said that I don't want to reach the point in my life in which someone says, let's go do this, and I can't go do it because I haven't maintained my body. If someone says, I want to go hiking, I want to be able to say, okay, I'm going to go hiking with you, no matter, as long as I possibly can. Do you understand where I'm going with this? I want to, I think that those are the things that I think about when I reference where I am in my aging process. You know, am I strong? Can I lift as much weight that I used to live when I'm strength training? The pain. Do I have pain when I get out of bed in the morning? Can I maintain my concentration when I'm trying to read a book? Those are all parts of the aging process that we don't always think about.
So true. Yes, those very basic references that it's almost like being self-aware, right, of our bodies. That's something that it's really kind of coming to my attention now more than ever. There's being more connected to my body. Because sometimes we actually know what's happening, but we tend to ignore pain, for example. Some people, they live in pain. And I wonder why that happens, actually, because I remember doing the same when I used to work out too much and be in pain and just live like that as if it was natural.
Well, genetics, of course, are going to have a part in it, but a lot of it also has to do with how you have maintained yourself. And we can do a fair amount with diet and exercise, and that's all that we've had to work with for many years. But now, with the biohacking trend, more and more technology is being developed that can make our exercise be more effective and can take us to higher levels of recovery and reducing inflammation than what we were able to do with just traditional exercise and diet alone. There's so many things out there. There's things that you can do in a clinic like mine, but there's also free things that people can do for biohacking that they may be doing now that they don't realize are even biohacking techniques, or things that they can add in to their daily routine that will make them more healthy that they probably just don't even know exist. For instance, grounding. Are you familiar with when I say grounding?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It's so important. I used to laugh at it when I was in the med spa industry, and my sister-in-law gave me a pair of sneakers that were supposed to be grounding sneakers that had they had the prongs that went into the earth that was supposed to pull up electrical energy. I think that they may have been a little bit of a hoax, but the idea behind it is really true. I mean, we need to be grounded to this earth to get the magnetic energy out of this earth that makes our cells function and repair themselves. And as we said before, our bodies are electrical beings, and we rely on energy transmission to feedback back and forth between the brain and the body for the brain to tell the body when there's something wrong, and the body to tell the brain when there's something wrong. And those cells can get low on energy, and a lot of this energy comes from the earth. And because we are wearing sneakers and we're in cars with rubber tires, and we're on the first floor, and we're in trains and airplanes, and we're not connected. I mean, I had pretty much stopped connecting with the earth until I really read and discovered more about what the earth's magnetic energy does for us. And so now some people don't have the time to go spend a lot of time grounding or earthing, but they can come into a clinic if they can find one, and they can do an entire earthing session in 10 minutes with a PEMF mat, a pulse electromagnetic frequency mat. But if you can't do that, then you can go spend 30 minutes laying on the ground outside, a few times a week.
Right. You see, this is a very good message for all of us listening to this, for me as a reminder too. And it's funny because you made me think about my husband, that he doesn't like doing that. He's always wearing shoes. And when I ask him, just even when we go to the beach, he has a hard time kind of removing his sneakers off. So he probably would go to a clinic, will be easier for him to accept that invitation than. And that's something that I ask myself. I have asked him actually why. And he's somebody from the city, New York, and maybe it's a habit thing, isn't it, William?
In New York, it's really hard to get to the ground unless you go to Central Park, and that take time and planning it within your schedule to do that. Yeah, I can't prove this, but I'm going to tell you a very quick story of something that I think happened due to someone it's my mother. During COVID, my mother lived in a senior living facility, and here in Texas, those senior living facilities, it was an independent living apartment. They fell under the rules of the nursing homes. And so they had very specific rules as to what they could do. And they were basically locked in their apartment for about a year and a half. And she did not get to go outside and touch the ground for about 18 months. They were not allowed to. And she developed severe dementia, very severe dementia during this. And I will always believe that it had to do with her not receiving sunlight and not getting the Earth's magnetic energy that she required for those entire 18 months. I will always think that had a major part in what she's experiencing now with dementia.
Yes. I would say so too. Yeah. I know that's just kind of personal observation, right?
Yeah. There's no science behind, I don't have any science to prove it, but it happened during that time. And
to me, it is exactly what happened. To me, it really sounds like something that could happen to anyone, not just her, but anyone.
Yeah.
And I see that with my husband too. He's 64 and sometimes he wants to take, instead of being exposed to the sun, he goes for the supplement, vitamin D, instead of taking direct sunlight. So it has to do a lot of this too. It's changing the way we think, right? The way our belief systems, our habits, that it's almost stepping into psychology in a way when it comes to that. So that's why I have these conversations here, so we can open our minds and our hearts to, new ideas, new way of living. So let's talk about your company and what it offers. So AdvancedYOU is a biohacking human performance center, and the mission is to empower individuals to look better, feel better, and perform better by harnessing cutting-edge technologies and scientific insights. So you do that by the means of comprehensive body composition and metabolic testing, customized nutrition plans, innovative anti-inflammatory treatments, time-efficient fitness solutions, and state-of-the-art medical aesthetics. So when you have, I went on your website and I looked at all the services. Gosh, you have so many of them. Some that I cannot even pronounce the name. I was looking at, how do I pronounce this? But the one that caught my attention immediately was the ARX Fit. So I would love to hear about this one first, if you don't mind.
It's actually one of my very favorite devices that we have, and it's for fitness, it's for strength training. And there's a couple of points that I'm going to make about exercise, about traditional exercise that uses gravity. So if you're using a dumbbell or a barbell, that's gravity fed. Or if you're using a machine, it typically has weights that are also gravity is pulling the weights down, which controls how much tension is on the piece of equipment. I wish that I could visually show you this, but if you're thinking about doing a bicep curl, and you have 10 pounds of weight in your hands, so I'm going to use easy numbers here, and we're going to do bicep curl using dumbbells, which are just the two handheld weights. You might be able to lift 10 pounds for the first 10 inches of your movement. I'm trying to do this so you can visually understand what I'm trying to explain. And then for the next 20 inches of your movement, which is right in the center of your bicep curl, you might be strong enough to actually lift 20 pounds. And then when you get to the very top or the end of your bicep curl, maybe you can lift 15 pounds. So does that make sense? You're 10 pounds at the bottom, you're maybe 20 pounds strong in the center, and you're maybe 15 pounds worth of strength at the top. That's how much you can lift. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. So how much weight can you lift? This is a question for you.
Right. With all the adding them. Wow.
It's 10 pounds.
Oh, only 10 pounds.
You can only lift 10 pounds because you can only lift as much weight as you can lift in your weakest part of your range of motion. So that center part where you could normally lift 20 pounds is undertrained. And that top part where you can maybe lift 15 pounds is undertrained because you can only lift 10 pounds in the very first phase of your range of motion. So all of your sets and all of your reps are underloaded in the middle and in the top. Are you following me?
Yes. Yeah. I never thought of that way. Yeah.
It's an ineffective workout. And that happens with dumbbells, barbells, or with machines. Even with the new systems that hang on your wall, they still use the same type of traditional weight, where it's the constant weight all the way through your entire range of motion. Well, the ARX uses adaptive resistance training, and it's almost like artificial intelligence. It recognizes how much strength you have in each part of your range of motion, and it's constantly changing. So if you can lift 10 pounds in your bicep curl in the beginning, it puts 10 pounds of pressure, of force on you. If it recognizes as you're getting into the center part of your range of motion and you can lift 20 pounds, it increases it to 20 pounds. And then if it recognizes it when you get to the top that you can only lift 15 pounds, it lowers it back down to 15 pounds. So it effectively keeps you properly loaded during your entire range of motion. So what that does is it makes you have to lift less reps and less sets, because you're properly loaded during your entire range of motion. So that's one of the most important things that ARX does. The next thing that it does is that it focuses heavily on your eccentric part or your negative part of your exercise or your rep. So let's just make sure that everyone understands what I'm talking about here. So the concentric part of an exercise is when you're actually moving the weight, we call that your positive. And then your eccentric is when you're lowering the weight, and we call that your negative. The majority of our strength comes from the exercise in the negative, which is the eccentric. And so if you've ever had a personal trainer, you probably have had them say, okay, we're going to focus this set, we're going to focus on your negatives or your eccentric, and we're going to lower the weight really slow. And that's because we know that you build more strength and get more gains in the negative or the eccentric. So now let's think about another example here. I'm going to try and make this visual for you again. So let's say that we have a barbell. That is the long bar that you could do a chest press with. And let's just use a very easy number. Let's say 100 pounds. If somebody can bench press 100 pounds, so they can push that 100 pounds, that's called the positive, that's the concentric. And they get to the top, and you are going to focus on the eccentric, that's when you lower the weight. You can most likely lower maybe 150 to 170 pounds if you can raise 100 pounds. But you can't lower what you can't raise. So you can't lower what you can't lift. So the ARX will allow you to press 100 pounds, but then it will load you to your appropriate weight, which may be 150 to 170 in your negative. So it very effectively trains your eccentric or your negative part of your range of motion. That also makes you have to do less sets and less reps. And so the combination of just this adaptive resistance and then focusing on the eccentric builds muscle faster. It actually gives you a more metabolic workout, which means that your metabolism is doing more because you're more effectively loaded. And it also dramatically cuts down on the time of exercise. When someone goes to the gym and they do a regular workout that's generally, let's say, 60 minutes, the average time under tension, which is how long your muscles, excuse me there, I'm sorry, how long your muscles are contracting is usually about 9 minutes. So for a 60-minute workout, your muscles are usually contracting about 9 minutes. With a 12 to 15-minute workout with ARX, your muscles are contracting, or the time under tension is about 9 minutes and 30 seconds. So in a 12 to 15-minute workout, we can give you as much time under tension as someone would have done in a 60-minute workout, except that it's also 9.5 minutes of more effective workout because you're effectively loaded. You're properly loaded during those 9.5 minutes. So overall, it's just a better way to exercise. And so you can come in once or twice a week for 12 to 15 minutes, and that's all that you have to do for your strength training the entire week. That's it.
Wow, that's amazing, though. Is this something that we can only do by going to your clinic, William? Are you available everywhere in the country, or are you planning to?
They're becoming more and more popular. If you go to the ARX website, I believe that they have a provider location on there, but I think you can just go to Google and just type in ARX workout near me. And I think that wherever you are located, you should be able to find the closest one. I'm here in Dallas, and I know that Waco, Texas, which is about an hour or so away, has a place that has them. Another place nearby, Arlington, Texas, has them. I don't know of anyone else in Dallas that has them besides me, but they are becoming more popular. And you can buy them for at-home use. So if you're a biohacker and you begin to put together your own biohacking center in your home, which a lot of people have begun to do that, you definitely can buy the equipment to have it in your home.
That's amazing. Do you also sell the equipment?
I don't. Yeah, we don't. I'm not a retailer of anything like that. We just have our equipment here. If somebody was interested, I would just refer them to the company, ARX, and they could purchase directly from the company.
Okay, so that's good to know. Wow, that's amazing. How little do we know about how things work, how the body works, right? And all that. I'm just listening to you and amazed by the information. Yes, although I do enjoy going to the gym, listening to music, and just staying there. I understand the time kind of concept, so it's important. This is really works for people who don't have enough time, or they actually don't enjoy going to the gym as much. That would be perfect for them.
That's so true. So there's a spiritual part of wellness, and part of your spiritual understanding of yourself may be that you need to go to the gym. People really do love to be in there, and they love the feeling of exertion and the endorphins that they get. Yeah. Some people hate it. They absolutely hate it, but they know that they need to do it. And some people don't have time because of children or work commitments or whatever that may be, but they're thinking every day they're stressed because they're like, I know that I need to do strength training, but I don't have 60 minutes plus the time to change clothes. My people can come in with their work clothes on. If it's a woman who has high heels on, we take them off. They don't have to change clothes. They're in here for 15 minutes maximum, usually about 12 to 14 minutes on the piece of equipment, and they've done their entire full body workout. And we only allow someone to do it maximum twice per week. That's all that the company allows them to do, is because it does so much muscle damage and there's so much recovery that your body needs to recover in order to build strength and conditioning. It needs recovery time. And so 2 times per week is the maximum that someone can do on the ARX system.
That's a very good point too. Now we're talking about inflammation, right, William? That could cause inflammation by not recovering. Yeah, is that something? Is that accurate? What I just said about inflammation?
Well, I'm not exactly talking about the same type of inflammation that you may be talking about. Recovering from a workout is not the same type of inflammation that you may have inside your body that is from eating the wrong foods or from not getting exercise or of just lifestyle habits that have led you to have inflammation. I think that if I'm understanding correctly, we're talking about 2 different types of inflammation. So just working out and being sore and having lactic acid and having microscopic tears in your muscles that need to repair, that's not exactly the same type of inflammation. But we do get these the way that muscle builds is by microscopic tears and injuries, and it takes time. It takes a couple of days for those to recover, and then they get stronger with every exercise, with every time you do a strength training program.
Yes, so that's actually it's necessary, right? The damage is necessary for rebuilding.
We definitely need to give the time. People that do, they're so proud of themselves. They're like, I'm doing 2-a-days. I'm going in the morning and I'm going in the evening, and they do it 6 days a week. Their bodies don't have time to recover. And so they're not getting the benefit from all those workouts that they think that they are, because they're never giving their bodies time to heal and recover. And so you need that time to recover, and you need to give it sleep and nutrition and time in order to build strength and size, if that's what your goal is.
Right. Yeah, that's very good advice and suggestion for those listening. So, a quick question about inflammation. So, there are different kinds of inflammation. Do they all affect our health differently, or are they all made the same when it comes to affecting us in a harmful way?
Whenever I talk about inflammation, so I don't want people to think that working out gives them inflammation.
Right.
So that muscle, those muscle tears and those
Mm.
muscle injuries, those microscopic injuries, that's not the inflammation that we talk about when we're talking about trying to reduce inflammation for longevity. So you can't really pinpoint inflammation in the body to one source. It's generally throughout the entire body, and we have different modalities that reduces inflammation. Exercise is a free way of reducing inflammation. Another way that has been proven to reduce inflammation that you probably have never even thought of and don't even know about is taping your mouth shut at night when you sleep. There's lots of studies that show that just by taping your mouth shut so that you're not a mouth breather and you actually breathe through your nostrils, which is how your body was intended to breathe, reduces inflammation, lowers your heart rate, increases your cognitive function. Um, it has even been shown to lower your cholesterol. There's so many studies that have been done, and it's a very simple biohacking technique of just simply buying, it's called mouth tape. You get it from Amazon, and you put it on your mouth whenever you get to bed at night, and it reduces snoring and has all kinds of positive benefits. I do it, and I tell you that I do feel much different in the morning when I've had my mouth tape shut. Plus, you don't have the morning breath that you're used to having.
That too.
Because,
Yes, that's a
I mean,
good
it's
one.
even been shown to have a reduction in
Yeah.
cavities and problems with the teeth
Wow.
whenever the mouth has been taped shut. So these are just like, free biohacks that we tell people that they can do at home that really cost you nothing to do, but can make a world of difference in how you feel the next day. But those are the things that I'm talking about when we reduce inflammation. We have photo biomodulating beds that basically have different wavelengths of light. Red light is one of the most common that people know about, but we also have near infrared light. And these beams of light can reduce inflammation and also increase mitochondrial activity to increase ATP. We've got the PEMF mats that we talked about briefly earlier, where as part of our biohacking program, it's similar to grounding, only you can do it inside, and it's programmed specifically for, there's different types of frequencies, so we can have some that calm the body. We can have some that are supposed to be better for building bone density. I broke my leg in 2007, and I was prescribed by my orthopedic surgeon a PEMF mat to make my bone heal faster. And I laughed at it and threw it in the closet and never touched it.
Yeah.
Because no one knew about PEMF mats, but yet it was FDA cleared and my insurance paid for it. And so now that I've looked into it, I was like, wow, I really wish that I had used that PEMF mat around my leg whenever I broke it, however many years ago that was, because my leg probably would have healed faster than in 8 months. I broke it in 5 places, so it took a long time to heal. And maybe I could have walked faster. So we have published studies that show that these things work, published enough for insurance to cover for some cases. But the same mat that was used to be wrapped around my leg to help my leg heal is the mat that we lay on. So someone who has osteoporosis can come in and lay on this PEMF mat and hopefully increase their bone density. And also reduce inflammation at the same time. We have hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is a hyperbaric chamber, dramatically reduces inflammation inside the body. It's probably one of the very best anti-aging devices that we have on the market right now is a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. And then we've got cryotherapy. Lots of people are doing cold plunges now. Cold plunge is a very inexpensive way to get the benefits of cold therapy in your house by using if you can afford a few bags of ice in the morning in your bathtub and do a cold plunge a few days, 3 days a week, maybe you can't afford cryotherapy, but you can afford a few bags of ice. So there's lots of things that we can do to reduce inflammation.
Gosh, so cryotherapy, how does it work? What is it, William?
It's basically cold therapy. So what I offer here in our clinic is using nitrogen to take the body temperature down to negative 220 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 minutes, which is really cold.
Right.
And it immediately releases endorphins that make you feel better. So it's a great thing to do first thing in the morning. It increases blood flow to your muscles. So it's a great treatment to do after an intense workout, such as the ARX. So when we have people do our adaptive resistance training, which is the ARX Fit, we like for them to go right directly into the cryotherapy and get a cryo treatment, which will make them immediately feel better. It helps lactic acid be removed from the muscles. It releases hormones that start a healing process. It detoxifies the internal organs. The benefits, again, go on and on and on. But if someone can't do that, then cold plunge is becoming very popular, which can give you the same benefits as cryotherapy.
Yeah, I really appreciate you giving the alternative, the freebie alternative to what you offer. And I know not everyone can do that. It's not accessible to everyone.
Exactly. And I think that everyone should be able to be healthy and live longer. And, here in my clinic, we have made things so easy. I did not want to be a place where only the wealthy, I do not feel that only the wealthy should have access or the ability to feel better and to live longer. And so I have such an inexpensive way here. I'm not trying to promote my clinic at all, but we have a very inexpensive monthly membership that almost anyone can afford because it's about the price of a gym membership. And they get to do everything in my clinic one time per week. And I did that, and people hear the price, and they're like, no way, there's no way that I can do all this one time per week. Well, it is, because that's how I made it, because I want everyone to be able to do it.
Oh my God, William, I love that. Well, I thought about it, like to ask you, are you planning to expand like the AdvancedYOU all over the place? We are in Clearwater, Florida, like my husband and I would love, just by listening to you, I'd love to go there like today.
I am not, but I've had someone from Chicago ask me if I would help him get his started sometime around March. And I've said that I will. I don't want any money for it. I'm not trying to, I've already sort of got myself set where I need to be for now. So, I don't want to increase my workload, which increases my stress. I'm turning 50 years old, my next birthday in February, and I don't want to increase stress because stress reduces your longevity. So I'm trying to do things that are easy in my life right now. And this one location for me is very easy. When I had my med spa at one time, there were 4. Which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot when you're still the person who runs all 4 of them. And I don't want to be in that situation again. So I would be very happy to guide someone if they decided that they wanted to open something like this. But I don't foresee myself doing that.
Personally, yes. That's such a good idea, though, for a franchise. I think that's what they call it, right?
It will be a franchise.
Yeah, you create the model and then they just buy the rights. Yeah, I love your generosity. I mean, the way you're speaking to me, and then by making it accessible too. You're giving throughout this interview, you've been giving the alternative, the free way to do it. And then not all of these, of course, not all the services that you offer, but also make accessible for everyone to come and pay a membership. That is such a wonderful idea. I do have something close by here that we went, actually, my husband and I, it's scalar light therapy. So they have those lights and then you go, but I didn't feel, no change really. I guess we did it twice and then we didn't feel anything. We didn't go back.
Tell me what it was again.
Scalar light. I think that's what they call it. It's scalar light energy healing. So you never heard about it. I don't think it's a biohacking. I don't even know what it is exactly, although I have talked to 2 people here on the podcast about it. But it's a type of light that they say it holds the energy of the sun and the stars. And then they have captured that somehow into machines. And then they look like screens to me, the way I saw them in person. They look like TV screens, and then they emit the sun and the stars energy. And it's supposed to heal you, the body and mind.
I don't know that I'm sold on that either.
I know. Yes, you really didn't.
I think that there's a lot of, unfortunately, there is a huge, everyone that has any disposable income would like to spend it on ways to look better and feel better. And so because of that, I think that a lot of people have taken advantage, and they have created products that may or may not work. And that's not one that I would probably spend my personal money on without knowing more about it. But from what you just described to me, I would want something to have a little bit more energy output, some proven studies that show that the light penetrates, it shows that it creates changes in the cellular activity. Those are the things that I look for. I want science to tell me that it does something, proven science.
Yes. So I see that's the description here said cutting edge technologies and scientific insights. So it is backed by science, everything that you promote and you do. Another thing that caught my attention, we're almost at the end, the services was the Superman protocol. What is...
It's superhuman protocol.
Oh, superhuman. Yes.
Superhuman protocol.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it looks at, it takes 3 components of the earth, which is light, magnetism, and oxygen. And it uses those 3 components to make your body, we're going to say superhuman, because that's what it's called, a superhuman protocol. And here's what it does. The first part of the protocol is a PEMF mat, which is magnetism. And so you lay on the PEMF mat for 10 minutes. And we spoke earlier about many of the things that happens whenever you are grounding or whenever you get the Earth's magnetic energy. But one thing that I did not mention is that it makes your red blood cells be negatively charged, which makes them repel each other. Right now, your red blood cells are clumped together. And so there's red blood cells in the center of that clump, and these are not clots. So I'm not talking about clots that make you have a stroke.
Right.
I'm talking about very small clumps. But the red blood cells inside those clumps are not exposed to oxygen. And so you're not carrying as much oxygen through your body as you could if those red blood cells were separated. Well, the Earth's magnetic energy makes those red blood cells be separated. And so a PEMF mat will separate those red blood cells for about 12 hours. And so 10 minutes on the PEMF mat, and then we immediately move them over to a bicycle with 95% oxygen. And so they're breathing 95% oxygen for 10 minutes on the bicycle, where they do 3 sprints. And that exercise with oxygen is going to oxygenate all these red blood cells that have just been separated, so they can all carry millions more molecules of oxygen. And then these 3 sprints are going to push this oxygen to hypoxic tissue, or tissue that doesn't always receive as much oxygen as needed, such as parts of your brain and parts of your organs and to your extremities. We're going to push oxygen to these parts of your body that don't always get enough. And then we take you directly into the photobiomodulating bed, which is the red light bed with the near infrared light. And those wavelengths of light basically increase ATP production, force oxygen into the cell, which in turn forces out free radicals. And the whole process creates more ATP. And so ATP production and reduction of inflammation are the 2 things that I said earlier in this conversation that are the key components to longevity and anti-aging. And so superhuman protocol is one of the key components of our wellness and longevity program, because we really want to be able to stimulate mitochondrial activity and produce more ATP. And Superhuman Protocol does that, and it trains your body to continue doing that on your off days as well. And then we can do something like combine it with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is the chamber, like you see someone that's been scuba diving and they come up too quickly and they have to go back down to pressure in a hyperbaric chamber. That is proven to increase mitochondrial density, which is the amount of mitochondria in your cells. And so we can improve the mitochondrial density and then take them through Superhuman Protocol and make that mitochondrial activity increase, then we're just going to give a tremendous amount or a tremendous boost in an ATP production.
Wow, that sounds amazing though. And it sounds like it could actually heal many conditions, right, William?
Well, that's the goal here, is that, we don't claim to treat eating diseases, but the goal is always to prevent. And of course, there are things that we're going to help. But we're definitely not here to cure or prevent, but we are here to help and reduce and hopefully prevent.
Yes, it's very much sounds like it. And listening to you is just, it feels like a wonderful invitation. The body likes, I'm listening to you and my body is talking. So it's interesting to see that. So I want to mention also that you offer sexual wellness and also services, mostly for men, I believe. And you also hair restoration. So I've seen that. Muscle sculpt, I think we talked about that. Male enhancement. Yes.
Well, the muscle sculpting is for men or for women. And basically what that is it's magnetic energy that is used to create muscle contractions. And we use that to create core strength. So a lot of times, the reason that we begin to lose our balance and we don't stand up straight and we begin to have to go on a walker or on a cane is because we've lost core strength. And a lot of times you get to an age where you just can't do abdominal crunches. You just can't do it. And so this device will allow you to lay flat. We put these magnetic applicators on the client, and it allows them to do 20,000 abdominal crunches, full crunches, while they lie flat on the bed and have to do nothing. So if there's a spinal injury, or if the person has had a spinal cord injury, or just needs the motivation to do crunches from a machine because they don't like to do crunches, just like we talked about earlier. Some people just don't like to go to the gym. Some people don't like to do crunches, and they don't want it. They don't have the internal ability, I would say that's what you would call it, to do the crunches, but they know that they need to maintain core strength. Then they can come in and we can take care of that core strength for them. We even have a way to increase pelvic floor strength, because we can allow them, there's a seat that they can sit on that does basically Kegels, and it builds the pelvic floor strength. And so for like women who begin to develop urinary incontinence as they get older, we can dramatically increase the pelvic floor strength, which can control that and keep that problem at bay. So that is not related specifically to men's health, but what you are talking about for men's health most likely is my fallow field procedure, which is for male girth enhancement, my hair restoration procedure, which uses smart graft FUE, which is follicular unit extraction, is for men or for women. We can graft eyebrows for women who have lost their eyebrows because of maybe a thyroid or hormonal imbalance, or women who have lost their thinning on their scalp. We can fix that as well. Sometimes men weren't given a full beard and they want to have a nice full beard, but some men just can't grow a beard. We can fix that as well, or we can work on the crown or their hairline with the hair restoration. So that actually goes both ways for men and for women. The only procedure that we have in here that is sort of for men only is the male girth enhancement, and I did develop and create that that procedure is called fill. And currently I have 20 locations that are mostly urologists around the country that are performing this male growth enhancement procedure. And I've got 12 more lined up that I've got to get scheduled for training that are all dying to offer the procedure. So we've been really happy with that so many urologists are interested in this procedure as well.
Wow, so that's good to know. And I'll have, of course, the website will be here on the podcast profile. And I want to mention that my husband would love the hair restoration one. I mean, the exercise too, but he doesn't have that much hair. And he has lost his hair. And he tried, I guess. I remember when I met him, he was trying some products to spray or something, and it didn't work. I think he tried for 6 months and then he gave up, became frustrated.
It might have been, yeah, probably a topical solution that had been developed to try and regrow hair. And it's great for for preventing more hair loss. And we recommend it when someone is having hair restoration because we add to their existing hair, but we don't want them to continue losing the hair that they still have. So we'll put them on a topical solution, but it doesn't always regrow hair. Sometimes it does, but generally it's more for prevention of future hair loss.
Right. So what do you offer? It's very different, the method.
Well, we offer the smart graft, which is taking the hair from the back of the head and we plant it into the areas that are losing the hair. So we actually take your own hair and basically move it. And so we can offer you regrowth for that. I also combine it with hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is something that a lot of people don't know can be combined. So there's published studies that show that hyperbaric oxygen therapy can actually help regrow hair because it increases the vascularity to the scalp and it allows the hair to get the nutrients that it needs to grow. So we combine a lot of times the grafts with the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And then there's another treatment that we do that's called exosomes, which is the vesicles that come off of a stem cell that basically tell the cells how to rejuvenate and how to repair. And we can do a combination of hair grafts with hyperbaric oxygen therapy combined with exosomes and really give someone the absolute best chance of having a full head of hair again.
Yeah, wow. It sounds like fun though. I'm listening to you and all these the services that you offer. That's like almost like it's co-creating, isn't it, with the universe?
Yeah, innovation.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how beautiful. It sounds fun. It's fun to me. So thank you so much, William, again, for what you do, for your generosity. I love the way how generous you are too, from many point of views. So thank you for being you. I really appreciate your presence in our reality. Thank you.
Those are very kind words. Thank you so much for saying that, and thank you so much for having me on on your show so that I can talk about this.
Yes, right. So this will be my community, and they will get to know. My husband and I are in touch with what you offer, and it's very inviting. The ARX that really caught my attention, and then as I listened to you, so many other ideas here: the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I never had heard about that HBOT. So this is interesting technology that humans are coming up with to, as you say, to improve our lives, right? To look better, feel better. And there is a connection. When I wake up and then I'm not looking that great, I don't perceive myself that way, then there is a feeling that comes with it. So when it's
exactly, it really is. You have to see yourself in the mirror in the morning,
yes.
And it determines how your day is going to turn out. I really am a true believer in that. What you see is how you're going to feel the rest of the day.
Yeah, it really does help though. Although my focus is more spiritual and it's more into the acceptance of what is without pushing away anything. But I see the influence of the physical body, of course,
Yeah.
The connection we have with it. It's incredible. It affects us. So thank you again for your presence. But before we say goodbye for today, William, would you like to add anything that you left unsaid or share anything else that you might have not?
You have covered everything that I can think of. You asked such great questions, and I got to talk about everything that I really wanted to share. I really wanted to plug in some of those free biohacking things that cost someone nothing to be able to do at home. grounding or earthing and getting light from the sun. And, I was going to mention intermittent fasting. People can do some research on that, but that's a big biohacking technique is intermittent fasting. And there's a lot of things that if people just type in free biohacking techniques into Google, there's a lot of things that will come up that will really help you be able to make yourself feel better, have better cognitive function. For example, really quickly, there's free apps that you can download on your phone that do breathing exercises that they're not going to get you into a meditative state, but they're going to help breathing. Breathing is a part of the spirituality, and breathing correctly and taking 15 minutes twice a day to have time for yourself to breathe correctly and just to decompose. Just there's so many things that can be done that you don't have to go pay someone for.
Yes, you see, that's really wonderful of you. Thank you again for your kindness. And before we say goodbye, I do have the website will be there, advanced-you.com. But before we say goodbye, I would love to ask you this question that I usually ask everyone. What 3 experiences you wish everyone to have before they lose the body, before they die?
To be loved, to be deeply loved. I think that is one of the most beautiful things that we can experience, and I think that everyone deserves that, and hopefully finds that in their life to help others and find some way in the course of your lifetime to make an impact on the lives of others. And you can do this by volunteering in a food bank or at a soup kitchen, for the homeless. But do something to give back. And let me think what the third thing would be. My gosh. I think that finding your spirituality. I think that is one of the most important things that you can do as well. You and I didn't have time to talk about spirituality. You mentioned it a couple times. I'm very spiritual as well. And I think it is a really very important part of my life. And a lot of people don't find that, and they don't ever really understand what that means. And I think that they should really dive deep into their selves and figure out what they believe in and what guides them and keeps them motivated to live a good life and so forth.
Yes. Oh my God. You're right. We didn't talk about spirituality, and it's really close to my heart. And with that in mind, just because you mentioned, I know I would stay here forever now. Spirituality, what is it to you? What is to be spiritual? What is spirituality to you, William?
Well, to me, it's not so much religion. I am not a big believer in organized religion. But I'm a very, very spiritual person. And I do believe that there is a being that has control over us in some way. I don't think that I totally understand it. I don't know that how any of us really could. But I've had things that have impacted my life greatly that have made me believe that there is a higher being and has allowed me to connect on a very spiritual, connect to myself with my spirituality. Sometime whenever we're not on air, I'll tell you some very personal things that have happened to me that have guided my spirituality. But I am spiritual. I do try to do meditation and things like that using some spiritual music, and I have a meditation bed here at the clinic that is amazing. It has 5 different frequencies of vibrations that stimulate the brain and the body, and it works in conjunction with music. And there's different types of spiritual music and soundtracks that you can play with it that helps you get into a theta brain state, and all kinds of. There's so many things that I have here. I wish if you're in Dallas, you've got to come visit. You have to come visit.
Yes.
But spirituality, and it's always evolving. It's I don't. So what I think this year may not be what I think next year. So I guess that's
Yes.
about as much as I can say in a concise statement for you.
Yes, right, because we're almost at the end. But yes, thank you for elaborating on that. And it really resonates with me, right? It's something that we cannot really describe, talk about really using words in a logical way. But I love the way you said that it was is a presence that has been felt, that you felt. So it's that, some people call it divine, God, all the names, but it's a presence. It's a very powerful presence. So yes, that's beautiful to hear. And I can't wait to talk to you off record now.
Yeah,
So,
I'll tell you, I have some stuff to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much again for your presence here, and we'll talk soon, William.
Okay, thank you for having me. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about William Moore and his work, please visit advanced-you.com. That's advanced-you.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.